Chapter 5, Mishnah 7. We learned in Chapter 2, Mishnah 1, that earthenware utensils that become tameh can only become tahor again by being broken. They cannot be made tahor by being immersed in a mikveh. The Mishnah teaches how much an earthenware oven must be broken in order to become tahor again. If an earthenware oven became tameh, how do we make it tahor? How much must we break it in order to make it tahor? One must divide the oven into 3 parts by cutting it in 3 places from top to bottom. And he must also scrape off the coating of clay on the outside of the oven in back of those cuts, so that the coating does not hold the divided sections together. And he must cut the walls of the oven until the cut reaches the ground, because if he does not, the uncut part of the wall will continue to hold the sections together and prevent the oven from being considered broken. The next Tana requires less breaking to make the oven tahor. Rabbi Meir says he does not have to scrape off the coating of clay from behind the cuts, and he does not have to cut the walls of the oven until the cut reaches the ground. Rather, it is enough that he reduces, i.e. cuts, the walls of the oven from the inside, without removing the coating of clay, until less than 4 tefachim remain at the bottom of the oven uncut. According to Rabbi Meir, as long as the oven itself is broken, the fact that the broken parts are being held together by something makes no difference. It is still considered a broken oven. The next Tana is stricter and requires even more breaking than the first Tana. Rabbi Shimon says not only does one have to remove the coating and cut the oven down to the ground, but he needs to move the sections away from each other in order for it to become tahor. The Mishnah now discusses the law in a case where the oven was divided into only 2 sections. If he divided the oven into 2 sections, one large and one small, the larger section is tameh and the smaller section is tahor. The larger section remains tameh because it contains a majority of the original oven and is thus not considered broken. The smaller piece, on the other hand, contains less than a majority and is therefore tahor. The Mishnah discusses the case where the oven was divided into 3 sections, but one of them was larger than the other 2. If he divided the oven in 3 sections and one of them was as large as the other 2 combined, that is, one section was slightly more than half of the original oven, and each of the other 2 sections was only about a quarter of the original oven, the larger section is tameh and the 2 smaller ones are tahor. Since the large section is slightly more than both of the other sections combined, it is tameh because it consists of more than half of the original oven. The 2 smaller sections, however, are each less than a majority of the oven. They are therefore certainly tahor.